How many of you feel that we all learn from each other's experiences? Good, because all I have to share today is my experience, and I hope that like we've been learning from all the elite panelists here, I hope that I have something for you to learn from my experience too. So I'd like to take you back to 2007. It was a year that changed my life forever. I still remember that weekend in August of 2007. I was studying in Chennai at that time. I'm from Bangalore. And I had come back to Bangalore for a weekend because it was a family friend's wedding. I was most excited. I didn't really care about Chennai much. No offense to people from Chennai. I love Bangalore. And there was a chance to spend time with my family. And more importantly, a chance to dress up because I love dressing up. And I had a chance to dress up for this wedding. So I had even designed the blouse that I wore that day. And I remember people asking me about the blouse. The appreciative glances were like the icing on the cake. There was family time. And the best part of it all was my parents even allowed me to fly back to Chennai. And those days we used to take the Shatabdi back to Chennai, the most boring 5 hours in that cold AC compartment. And I was like, wow, the simple luxuries of life. So I landed in Chennai a little after 8 a.m. and I noticed some red spots on my face. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe just the heat, I don't know. And as usual, I decided to go against my college rules and wore leggings, which were newly fashionable at the time, with a kurta to college. I couldn't get past the first hour. My legs were itching, my hands were itching, and those spots that I told you about had all kind of merged into one and created like a moving continent on my face. By now I was convinced it's probably just an allergic reaction and it'll probably go away soon enough. Soon enough became 5, 6, 7, 8 long, arduous years. Years that would test my foundation, my existence, and test every bit of humanity that I had. By the end of that day, I was covered from head to toe in this itchy, red rash that used to bleed, and it just never went away. From that day on, I was in a girls' hostel, and girls love giving other girls advice. So everyone told me, put curd, put haldi, put this, put that. So we tried applying curd on my face. As soon as we put the curd, my face started itching and I started screaming. We had to run to the restroom, wash it off, and it took about 3-4 hours to get that redness off my face. Now, the other thing was that it was such a hard time of my life, and I still remember I used to always pray to God and be like, why God, why have you given me a problem that is so visible? Skin is something that is so visible. When you look at me today, you can see my skin, right? And that is me right before this incident happened. In fact, that very weekend this incident happened. And I used to keep asking God, why did this happen to me? Why have you given me something so visible? Because wherever I went, people kept asking me what happened, or they looked at me, from cab drivers to my teachers to fellow students. I remember the next day in college, some girls refused to sit next to me because they thought that if they touched my skin, they would get this same problem. So they kind of put me separately on a bench. And that's when I made my best friend. She's in the audience today. So can you all give her a round of applause? Please put your hand up, Krishna. So she came and sat next to me that day, and she taught me the value of friendship. Now, at this time, while I was wondering all these things, our parents are probably the people who are most affected by what we go through. My mother is a practicing psychologist and counselor, and how are you feeling in our house means much more than just how are you feeling. It's like, how do you feel? What exactly are you feeling right now? So she used to call me and forget how are you, how's your skin became the most frequently asked question. So you could imagine my state at that time. It was then that I read something about being. It said just be. Forget trying to be someone else, just be. And that kind of stayed with me because I realized that you had to be who you are, and I had to embrace this version of myself. I couldn't say that, okay, when my skin gets better, I'll go to college, because I really wanted to go to London College of Fashion, and I knew there was no way I was going out of Bangalore covered in this rash. So I would like you all to take a minute, if you can, and think of just being. We are always thinking of what we want to be, that we forget to be who we are today. And it was at this time that I remember, and I really believe that our family is such a strong support system. There was a very late Christmas party last night, but yet 2 people from that Christmas party are still in this audience, even though they party till 2:30 in the morning, and they are above 40. So thank you to them for coming here today. And that was when I changed my stance from why has this happened to me to now that this has happened, what can I do about it? So please take a minute and think of any difficult situation that you're going through. And as human beings, we all have our own set of burdens. And think, now that this has happened, what can you do about it? So I was still in college. I was only 19 years old. And that is a time that as a girl, your looks are so important. You want to look good. You want to go out. And here I was covered in this itchy red rash. It was all like pus all over. People used to stop and stare at me. And I've told you how I wished that it was something that was not so visible, maybe like a stomach problem that no one knew about, that no one could ask me about. And in India, we love giving free advice. You see someone on the road, you want to tell them how they should live their life. You see someone in the office, you want to tell them how they should live their life. So I started resenting that, and I think I realized that I had to embrace and become this new person with this skin problem, and I became an image consultant that focuses so much on looks, because I realized, those days I realized the value of what you are inside and the value of being authentic and real. Looks, yes, it's very important. We all want to look like Deepika Padukone. We all want to look like Aishwarya Rai. But there has to be depth after that. There has to be something deeper than that that actually connects us to one another. When we are real, we allow another person to be real with us. And it was during this time, so someone asked me just the other day, if you could turn your life back, would you wish that this never happened to you? And I always say no. I'm so glad this happened to me, because it taught me so many lessons. It taught me the value of authenticity, the value of being real. And when you are real, since you attract realness in the other, they become authentic. So your friendships, your relationships, any interaction becomes so real that there's no time to be fake. And in today's world, I think that's so important, to be real and authentic, because as human beings, we're all flawed. But when we're real and authentic, we appreciate that in the other. And I feel sometimes we think that what makes us different, or what we think is a burden, or what we think are problems, I don't think they're problems, because I believe that problems are actually little gifts that come into our life to teach us something. Maybe self-discovery, maybe the value of resilience. For each of us, it's something different. But problems come into our life to teach us something. And this is all I have to share with you, that if you can go through life's experiences, rather than thinking, why has this happened? Think, now that this has happened, what can I do about it? and be real and authentic, because then you are inviting the other person to be real and authentic with you. And lastly, what you think is a burden and what you think sets you apart and is not a good quality may never be that. What sets you apart is sometimes what makes you great. Thank you.